Hello, everybody. Oh, no. I got phlegm in my throat. Oh, no, I'm good now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Super Mario Galaxy, Part 15. Part 15. Fellas, in the last episode, we cleared out a good bit more stuff over in Freeze Flame Galaxy, and we cleared out the one secret the one secret planet here over in the bedroom called the Honey Climb Galaxy. We have this one to do as well, but real quick, before we do any of that, we're going to do the secret star that is over here in Freeze Flame Galaxy, which I do believe I know the location of, and I think there's actually a kind of cool skip you can do to not make you have to do absolutely everything contained within it, which is really, really neat. But fellas, if you were here for the last episode, I actually spent a lot of the last episode talking about kind of the bit of the controversy going around with the Switch 2 stuff. I didn't spend a ton of time, however, talking about the absolute positives of what I really am enjoying and what I'm really enjoying seeing from the Switch 2, because there is a lot. There is a lot that I'm really enjoying, because like I said, I think this console, while it's probably going to have a rocky launch and a rocky kind of pre-launch period these 2 months before, I think that in terms of the actual games that are being offered, there is so much cool stuff, man. I mean, there is just genuinely so much cool stuff that is being presented through the Switch 2, and I think a lot of it is obviously being very much pushed by the hardware capabilities that are just shining through completely on the Switch 2 compared to the Switch 1. That console is miles more powerful than this exact console that I'm on right now. See? Guys, I'm on the Switch. Can you believe it? I'm on the Switch, but, you know. Obviously, the Switch 2 is going to be a much more powerful ordeal, right? And I feel as if, what better way to kind of discuss this console than to talk about the games that were announced. Now, I'm not going to go over every single game because there was a lot that was announced. There was around 3 big first parties that were announced during that direct, a lot of third parties, and I remember the group of friends that I was hanging out with who we were watching the direct with, and listen, I love them, but they sounded fairly unhappy. Wait, I kind of want that. Wait, I kind of want that. Wait, I kind of want that. Okay, I got that. They were fairly unhappy about the amount of third-party stuff that showed up in the Switch 2 Direct. And to that I say, did you not expect that? Did you not expect that? Of course they're going to push for third parties more, because I think a lot of the reason that there was a lot less third parties, and this has always been my theory, a lot of the reason that I think there was a lot less third parties at the launch of the Switch 1 is because the Switch 1 had a lot to deal with regarding the fact that this was coming off of the horrendous ordeal that was the Wii U. I think a lot of third parties, after the Wii U, lost trust in Nintendo. And so even though the Switch was looking to be this great new thing that, a lot of people were really excited about. Wait, I could save it. I can't save it. All right, man. That's so good. That's so good, dude. But, I think even though the Switch was looking out to be this grandiose thing that everyone was really excited for, some people were a little apprehensive, obviously because of the fact that, again, they didn't know if Nintendo was going to be able to make a comeback after the horrendous issue that was the Wii U, right? They didn't know if there was going to be much of a recovery, but there was. But third parties obviously were understandably not going to have that trust at launch because, what? Okay, man. Are we for real? That just, popped out, man. That just, popped out. But obviously a lot of third parties weren't going to have that same level of trust in Nintendo because of the fact that the Wii U was what came right before it. So now coming into the Switch 2, and the fact that the Switch was such a successful console, right? It was such a successful console. Third parties are obviously a lot more trustworthy of Nintendo, because Nintendo obviously had a great thing going with the Switch 1, and they want to be there for the great launch of the Switch 2. especially since the Switch 2 is pushing a lot closer. I don't want to say exact, but it's pushing. No. It's pushing a lot closer to current gen hardware. Okay, you know, the likes of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. It's not exact, but I want to talk about the first parties mainly because there were a lot of crazy good things that came out of first parties. First of all, let's just get the big one out of the way, Mario Kart World. Now, while Mario Kart World had a lot of controversy, and is getting a lot of controversy right now, because it is the big Nintendo... Alright, man. It's the big Nintendo game to make the push for an $80 price tag. Still don't love that. There is, however, a lot of really cool stuff to come out of it. Notably that Mario Kart World's big gimmick seems to be that it is open world. Every single track in the game is connected to a big open world that you can actually explore through the game's free roam mode. And that's crazy to me. I think having a Forza-ified Mario Kart is wild in a good way. I want to clarify. It's crazy in a good way, and I am very, very hyped to see it. I have been looking at so much press release footage, footage from the Nintendo Switch 2 in-person events that are being held. Particularly the New York event was a big topic of conversation, and it just looks incredible. There's also a lot more characters, I think, than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and wow, man, what was Nintendo smoking with half of these characters? What do you mean the coin coffers in this game? Pianta? Spike? The Cataquack, bro? The Cataquack? Are we so for real right now? And I'm sure a lot of how I'm saying this, it's coming across like it's a bad thing. This is absolutely not a bad thing. I love these weird inclusions to death. I think, quite frankly, they're actually incredible. And obviously the big one everyone's talking about is the Moo Moo Meadows cow. What? Everyone's talking about the Moo Moo Meadows cow. And I'm just sitting here like, okay. Now, listen, will I personally main the Moo Moo Meadows cow? I don't know, right? What I personally, a character that I saw that I am really rooting for myself, okay? Is that, okay, I thought I was just going straight into it. Who I am personally maining is going to be the Snowman. The Mario 64 Snowman is playable, and you bet your bottom dollar I am playing as that sucker. Cause oh my god, I have always had this running bit with my partner. You know, I've talked to you guys about my partner before. I've always had this running bit with her, and I've talked about how I absolutely love snowmen for some reason. They're just so silly looking anytime you make one, and you know, of course, they're customizable. But I've always thought, what am I saying? But I've always thought that the Mario Snowman the Mario Snowman in particular look very quirky and funny, okay? That's always something I've been very adamant about, is that they look very quirky and funny. And to see them in this new Mario Kart game is just incredible. And I will be playing them. You can bet your bottom dollar I will be doing that. So I think it's really, really cool. But yeah, man, I mean, it's genuinely extremely cool. The fact that you have a free roam mode that you can explore around the open world with your friends, I think it's really, really cool. There's also said to maybe be some stuff in terms of unlockables in there. Something that has also been shown off a fair bit about Mario Kart World is that there is costumes. There's actual outfits for you to unlock, which I'm sure they took a page out of Tor's book for that, which normally I would complain about that because I don't like Tor. There's a couple stylistic things that really do take a page out of Tor's book, but they do it in a way that, in my honest-to-God opinion, works really, really well, okay? And I'm just going to say that. I think they do it in a way that works really, really well. And I'm very, very happy about that. Okay. So that's a big thing. I'm very, very excited about all of that. And in terms of one of the modes that has been talked about, first of all, I want to talk about Grand Prix mode because Grand Prix mode has gotten particularly big changes. It has gotten particularly big changes in that now what you do and the way that Grand Prix mode works, and this seems to be a lot of the general structure around the game, and some people are a little apprehensive about this, and I understand personally. Am I worried about it? No. A big thing that they are doing is that if you guys remember Mount Wario from Mario Kart 8, which was that one kind of snow-based Wario track that didn't actually loop itself, and it was actually just like one long track. If you guys remember that track, imagine the structure of that track, but that is what the whole game of Mario Kart World is like. Okay? And some people, I don't think like it. I kind of get it, because it is essentially removing the standardized looping of tracks that Mario Kart has been known for up to this point in order to do something different. And basically what they're doing is that the first track of the Grand Prix loops. The first track of the Grand Prix loops like standard Mario Kart tracks do. But every subsequent track after that is different. And what it is actually doing... What was that? All right, man. What every track is doing after that is it is actually spending around the first 2 laps or so of the track traveling to the next track. And then you spend about 1 lap driving that new track. And I think to a lot of people, this is very controversial. And I kind of get it, right? Because it's like you want to spend more time on that new track, not spending time going to that track. That being said, as someone who is a big fan of the open world structure that they are going for, I love this. And there has also apparently been some talk that while there is a potential chance that this format will be kind of the standard for what you have to do in Grand Prix, this might not be a required feature. There was somebody mentioning that one of the Nintendo Treehouse members during a segment of Mario Kart World, they had mentioned something about the fact that every track or most tracks have a 3-lap variant of it, right? So that you can actually play it in a 3-lap context like every other Mario Kart game, right? And if that is the case, that's really cool. Now, like I said, if you're asking for my personal opinion on this, I love the open world. I love the open world because there is so much to explore. I feel like even when I rewatch people play certain segments that I have already watched people play through, it always feels fresh because there's so much that you're actively seeing in the open world that so much of these small tidbits in the open world tune out of my brain after seeing it. And I feel like that could come across like it's not memorable. It is memorable, but believe me, do you remember every single segment of an open world without having to play it 400 for like 400 hours? Probably not, right? You probably don't remember every single segment of an open world game unless you have played it for like 400 hours, right? And I think that's just very worth keeping in mind. So, I personally do not have an issue with this format. Something I also remember finding very weird as well was regarding the way that the track selection worked. So, what I basically mean by that, for a little bit of context... Ooh. Let me out! Okay, that's fine. What I mean by this is that in past Mario Kart games, typically the way that tracks have worked is that you typically have your brand new tracks to the game that you're playing for the they're reserved for the Mushroom Cup, the Flower Cup, the Star Cup, and the the Special Cup, right? Those tracks or those cups are reserved for the brand new tracks, right? They're reserved for the brand new tracks. And I can kind of I don't remember what you're actually supposed to do. You're supposed to... Wait. Oh, I thought you were supposed to, like, fling a coconut at it. Like, it was, like, that one star from Good Egg Galaxy. Hey, let's just not... I don't want to die there, man. That would be an embarrassing place to die in, and I'm just not looking to let that happen, personally. That's just not on my radar right now. But yeah, something I've noticed, well, actually, hold on, let me finish my thought. So, yeah, those cups are typically reserved for the new tracks. Wow. Incredible. Yeah, those cups are typically reserved for the new tracks, and then stuff like the banana cup, the star, or not the banana cup, the banana cup, the shell cup, the leaf cup, and the lightning cup, I believe. They are typically reserved for the retro tracks, the tracks that are not new to the series and are actually rehashed tracks that are kind of remade for the new game that it is on, right? So retro tracks are making a return and are a part of the open world of Mario Kart World. But they're making kind of a weird change that I really didn't understand at first, but then when you put it into the context of the open world, I kind of get it. Retro tracks can now just be thrown in anywhere in regards to the cup organization. That's kind of interesting to me. Because there is a cup that I remember seeing on the cup selection screen that was basically like, it was comprised of like 3 retro tracks, but then you had one new track, and it was really weird, man. Like, I thought that was extremely weird, but when you actually put it into context of how they're organizing the open world and how you're traveling from the open world to things, they probably want a lot of the elements of the open world to tie into each other thematically. So a lot of these tracks have to thematically tie into each other, even if that means making it so that 3 of the tracks in a cup are retro, while maybe 1 is like a new track that is thematically based off of those 3 retro tracks, right? So I kind of get it. I kind of get it to a certain degree. Do I still think it's a little weird looking? Yes, it throws off a lot of my sense of normality when it comes to Mario Kart. Do I think it's the end of the world? No, because there's a justification for it, and I kind of get it, right? If there was no justification for it and they just kind of did it just because, I'd be like, why? What's the purpose, right? But that does not seem to be what they are doing. So I feel as if that is something incredibly worth mentioning. Nonetheless, though, I do think it is very much worth mentioning as well that something else that they have also incorporated into the game is a thing called Knockout Tour. Now, when they announced this during the Switch 2 Direct, I kind of lost it, because Knockout Tour, to put it into simplest terms, now, for those of you who haven't seen, another big change that they've made in Mario Kart World that is brand new to the series is the amount of racers on the track. People kind of scuffed out that this was going to be a new thing, based on the really basic footage that they had given back in the first look trailer of the Nintendo Switch 2 back in January. The new thing is that there are now 24 racers on a given track instead of 12. They have basically doubled the racer count, and the lowest that it has ever been in a Mario Kart series was 8. I need to remind you guys. I think they permanently switched over... Well, okay, they've kind of flip-flopped based on if it is a handheld system or not. Like, I believe Mario Kart 8, not Mario Kart 8, but Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart DS, they featured 8 racers, right? I believe the older Mario Kart games, even the ones that were on consoles, featured 8. But stuff like, Stuff like Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart Wii and, I think even Double Dash, no, Double Dash might have done 8, but stuff like Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8, they featured 12, right? Mario Kart World has moved up to 24 racers, and that is crazy. So what they're doing at Knockout Tour is basically putting in a battle royale sort of system into Mario Kart. And for any of you who are big fans of custom tracks for Mario Kart, and know anything about the knockout mode, yes, that is the name of that I really feel like Nintendo just yoinked a page out of their book. That's going to do it for this episode, by the way, but I'm going to finish this train of thought. They really yoinked that sort of thing. Basically what knockout mode does, it takes you through this, you have to go through this long stretch of multiple tracks that are woven throughout the open world, and you do it seamlessly. There's no loading screens in between, nothing like that. And when you get to each general checkpoint, which there are usually about 6, you might be able to change the amount of checkpoints, but we haven't seen that happen yet. Again, Nintendo Treehouse kind of adds in these bare-boned, like, stripped-down areas. Within each checkpoint, certain players get eliminated if they are not above a certain placement threshold within the race, until it is eventually dwindled down to one winner. This is great. I cannot believe they added this. It makes me so genuinely happy to see. And honest to God, I think a lot of my time in Mario Kart World is going to be spent doing that. Because it also allows you to really take these like 10-minute portions and really just take a lot of time exploring the open world, even in the midst of this chaotic battle royale type knockout system. But it also just gives you this amazing time to explore the open world. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's great. And the open world looks amazing, by the way. I just want to really mention that. But yeah, that mode looks amazing. So yeah, I have a lot more that I want to say about this game that I'm not going to talk about in this episode because we're at 21 minutes, almost 22. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and end off the episode here. We'll probably talk about this in the next episode. But fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Galaxy. I almost said Mario Kart. That's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Galaxy Part 15. Good progress episode. I think we're approaching the end of the bedroom dome, and things are getting a bit exciting. I am very, very excited to be done with this dome. Well, I'm not really excited. I actually kind of really enjoy this dome, but I digress nonetheless. But yeah, we're nearing the end, and man, we're almost at 60 stars. We're almost at the amount you actually need to just beat the game at a minimum. So that's kind of very, very interesting. But yeah, fellas, I'm going to go ahead and hop up on out of here. If you enjoyed this video, maybe like, comment, subscribe. I don't know, it's your life. Do what you want. I don't really care. And I will see you fellas in the next video. Bye-bye, guys!